Welcome to the live stream. Blunty, there you are. Okay. Did I just close the... Yeah, I did. Oh, see, that's what I get for trying to solve problems instead of focusing on the stream. I'm trying to figure out how to do something in INAV that I don't know how to do. Not a surprise there's things that I don't know how to do. And I was like, oh, I could just take 2 more minutes to try and figure it out while the music's playing. And then the music ended, and I was like, ah! So, anybody, INAV experts out there? Yeah, there's got to be INAV experts watching right now. Hey, don't tell me during the stream. Just email me offline and tell me how to... Okay, so here's the situation. I have a waypoint mission, right? Okay. And I have a waypoint, right? And I have a user action on that waypoint, right? Fine. What a weird place to put a waypoint. That's just, how did that get there? Anyway, no, that's just a joke. So I have a waypoint and I have user action. And then what I want to do, like the whole purpose of user actions is that when you get to the waypoint, something happens, right? And I can't figure out how to say, okay, when I can't, you got this, you got waypoints, next waypoint has user action 1. That doesn't work. So I don't know. I don't know how to, like, I want, when I reach the waypoint with user action 1, I want user action 1 to occur. Well, what is user action 1? I assume that I'm going to do that here. I'm going to say, you know, override throttle, value equals 0. I don't know, right? I'm going to do something but how do you make that happen? I don't know. All right, well, one of you people watching the live stream will know how to do that, and then you'll tell me. And then I'll be like, thank you. I asked for help in the INAV Discord, and I got a little bit of help, but not as much. Well, I got some help, for which I'm thankful, but I'm still too dumb to figure out what the help was supposed to mean. So, okay. That's actually why I have a channel, is I just want to be able to ask for people to help me. And then once I know how to do it, I'll make a video, right? Okay. But what I'm really here for is to answer your questions, right? That's what I'm really here for. Occasionally to get my questions answered.
Sure.
Yeah, Bunty?
Is your social stream still updating?
Is my social stream still updating? No. Fuck. Sorry. There we go. When I closed that window, it turned off. I'm not sure how it got turned off. It should be updating now. Okay, now questions are being queued, right? Yes. Right? Yes. Okay. Yeah, sorry. What does the comment on the shirt say? Too much yakking about irrelevant stuff, too little talking about the goggles. Okay, social stream is updating. All right, we're ready. We can now begin the stream, right? So we've missed a bunch of questions, right, Blunty? I'll grab some of these questions from the YouTube stream. I just won't put them on screen because we can't do that. Is the amp draw that's displayed on my OSD just for one of the highest motors, or is it total draw for the entire system? Floyd Wilcox, it is the total draw for the entire system. Usually the current sensor is like basically on the main power lead, and so it measures all current being drawn by all of the quad. That's usually the case. Almost always the case. Hello, Lone ODST. Glory to the heroes. Yes, indeed. Lone ODST. And also, we got just a whole bunch of Ukraine supporters here in the chat. Yeah. My editor, Fabio, who is, those who follow the channel know, my editor, Fabio, is Italian, but he is married to a Ukrainian woman. They went back to her parents' place in western Ukraine for Christmas. And it was the first time he had been back since 2022. And they had a nice time with family, and, you know, I'm sure it was bittersweet. And Stanalbright, there we go. That's how the Ukraine stuff got started. Stanalbright's there. Hello from Ukraine. Hello to Ukraine. Okay. Drink of choice for the evening.
Yeah.
It's more of this wonderful vodka from St. Croix. Yes, Blunty.
It looks to me like YouTube is no longer updating again. And
oh, it's because I'm
stream?
scrolling back. I'm sorry. I was scrolling back to read the questions we missed, and it made the frickin' things not update. Sorry, Blunty. I'll stop screwing up the stream again. Maybe. Okay. Well, we got some questions queued. Let's take them. Jeremy P. Actual rates in Betaflight. What's the difference between center sensitivity and expo? They seem to do the exact same thing. They do a similar thing, but not the exact same thing. And experimentation is, as usual, the best way to figure it out. Let me get a flight controller. Sorry about that beeping. That's me, not you. Oh, great. I have to flash Betaflight to this flight controller. Every time I go to use this flight controller, I have the wrong firmware on it. Why is INAV on this? Okay. Bootloader. 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 There we go. Okay. Update firmware. I believe it's F405. Oh, which... Damn it. What's the right target for this? Connect. Close. Version. SpeedDB F405 V3. Okay, great. Except... Update firmware. SpeedDB F405 and V3. There we go. And Betaflight 2025.12.1 and load. Oh, okay, fine. I'll select an OSD protocol. Can I have both? Why can't I have both? Shut up. Why won't you let me have both? I should be able to have both, right? That's weird. Used to be able to have both, I'm pretty sure. Seems like you would want to have digital as a backup if you had analog, because you just never know, right?
You used to be able to select multiple radio protocols too, but I think they just disabled that option.
Well, there you go. It's the way of the world. Okay, well, we'll just sit here while we flash. And maybe I'll take one more question. I was at Ripley's Aquarium with the kids, says Eugene Towels. In the big tank, they had an FPV submarine you could drive around and look at the fish. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Is it worth the extra power of the Walksnail GT? Or should I get the Pro kit? The GT, yes, it's worth the extra power of the Walksnail GT. If you have size on the frame, you should absolutely get the GT. You can use any camera with the GT, right? You can use the Pro camera with the GT. In fact, probably you can buy a kit pre-made with the GT and the Pro camera. But the extra power of the GT, I mean, Walksnail is okay, but like you always want more range, right? Like with DJI, like with the O4, the range is so freaking good that you're just like, I don't know, I guess it's like, sure, would I want more, but okay. But with anything else, Walksnail, analog, etc., you probably would like more power and more range. So yeah, the GT is well worth it with Walksnail. Okay, so going back to the question from Jeremy P. about actual rates. If we go to the PID tuning tab, go to rate profile settings, and let me just zoom in here slightly. Right, well, I want you to see the effect that we have here. So I'm going to take the center sensitivity way down on the roll axis. We're looking at the red line. I'm going to take the max rate way up on the roll axis. Okay, so how about, let's just, that's insane. Let's just say 1300 degrees per second. Okay. So now on the pitch axis, I'm going to take center sensitivity way down, and I'm going to take the same max rate for the green line, but I'm going to add some expo. Okay. So what expo is doing is it is dramatically, let me move the blue line out of the way. Expo is dramatically extending the center, right? What I've done with the red line, the roll axis, is I've taken the center sensitivity as low as it will go and the max rate all the way up. And it has made a very gradual curve. Okay? If I raise the center sensitivity more, the curve will get less gradual. This is the most expo we can put on the curve using just center sensitivity and max rate. Okay? By adding expo, we dramatically sharpen the upturn in the curve, and we dramatically spread the size of the center. And that's a way you can think about it. I don't know if it's like the preferred way of thinking about it. I just made this up. But think of the center sensitivity and the max rate, and then think of expo as controlling the width of the center. Okay? Does that make sense? So expo widens the center. And you can see, like, I can play with, like, I could take that expo, and then I could kind of approximate that, oops, wrong one. I could kind of approximate that curve by bringing the max rate down. So now you see the red line is roughly overlaying the green line out to here, but then it doesn't get as high, right? So expo gives you an additional tool for manipulating the shape of the rate curve that you simply don't have with just center sensitivity and max rate. And you can't duplicate. Like, if you give me a given center sensitivity and max rate, I cannot duplicate that exact curve with just center sensitivity and expo. Max rate and expo are not the same thing. Okay. All right, good question. Hopefully that answer made sense and was helpful. Deuce FPV asks, thank you, first of all, for a $20 super chat. It's incredibly generous. If I select S-Bus under radio protocol in the build options Betaflight 4.4, will typing S-Bus baud fast equals on work in the CLI tab for my Vista? I mean, yes. I mean, you have to type set S-Bus baud fast equals on. What is the exact text to type in custom defines to get LQ and RSSI dBm in the DJI V2 goggles? That custom define doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. What you need to do is you need to root the goggle, you need to flash WTFOS, and you need to install the MSP plugin in both the goggle and the air unit. That assumes you're using a Vista. Yes, you are. You root them, you install WTFOS, you install the MSP plugin, the MSP OSD plugin on the goggle and the Vista. The flight controller just does whatever it does. It doesn't know you have a Vista. It knows that you have a digital OSD, and it's exactly like if it was any other goggle or air unit. So you don't need to do anything in special in Betaflight. You need to do something special in your goggles and your air unit. So, if we search for Joshua Bardwell WTFOS here, this is the video that you want. Probably. Betaflight HDOSD with DJI Walksnail and HDZero how to set up. No, that won't work because that doesn't show you how to root. That's the wrong one. Skip that. Here we go. This is the one.
When these goggles...
Finally, full Betaflight OSD in DJI FPV. FPV WTF, WTFOS, how to. Now that video is 3 years old, but that contains the basic steps you need to do. Okay? Root the goggles. Install WTFOS. Install the MSP OSD. And yada, yada, yada. Okay? All right, good. Should I build my own lithium-ion pack or buy a pre-made? Generally, you save a ton of money by building your own. Obviously, you could do it wrong and light yourself on fire, so that wouldn't save you money. But generally, you can buy cells relatively cheap for $5 or $8 a cell, and you can easily save 50%. If you have to buy a spot welder, maybe it takes a while to break even on the cells, but generally speaking, you save a ton of money by building your own. Now, you say you can't get cheap cells where you live. Oh, well, then maybe you just got to buy a pre-made one. Like, you got to do the math. But usually you save maybe 50%, maybe a little bit more, depending on what tools you have to buy. How do you enable crash flip? Thank you for $5, first state of PV. How do you enable crash flip? Everything is turned on in Betaflight. What are the steps? So what you would do is you would flip the switch to enable crash flip mode. So first of all, you disarm. While disarmed, flip the switch to enable crash flip mode. Arm. Now you're in crash flip mode. Use the right stick to flip yourself over. Disarm. Flip out of crash flip mode. Rearm. Those are the steps. Hopefully that's the information you need. Yeah, you say everything is turned on in Betaflight. I assume that means you've got the aux mode set up and you just don't know the specific switch sequence to activate it. One mistake people make is they don't disarm. They just try to flip to crash flip mode while armed. That won't work. Also, you disarm, you enable crash flip mode, then you rearm. Just enabling crash flip mode doesn't do it. Here's a question from Squid509. Squid509, thank you for being a patron. Thank you for joining the Discord server and supporting me with a little bit of payment every month. In exchange for that, I will read your question. Ever had transmission from another drone drop out your Express LRS? Yesterday I was at my normal spot with 4 regular pilots at the field, no problem. There was a new guy never seen before drive up, not talk to any of us, plug in and launch what looked like an Avata. From an Avata, I expect everyone's video to get interfered with when they plug in, but I did not get my video dropped out. I think he was trying to close chase my drone with his drone, and my drone falls out of the sky while I still had video. On the walk to get my drone, I noticed the controller lost connection. When I got back to the bench, I ran some checks. There was nothing wrong with my drone. So DJI drones transmit in both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Express LRS, I'm going to guess you are on 2.4 gigahertz Express LRS. It's entirely possible, especially as his drone gets close to yours, his video transmitter, his radio, blasting on 2.4 gigahertz could be so much more powerful than your radio. Not because it's necessarily more powerful, but because it's so much closer. When remember that radio waves drop off as the square of the distance. So double the distance equals 1/4 the strength. That is an exponential drop-off, which means that when you are just 50 or 100 meters away, if he is 3 feet away, and yes, it did just mix meters and feet. He is just 3 feet away, he is vastly more powerful than you. I don't know the actual ratio, and I'm not going to do the math, but he could be 20 or 30 times more powerful than you, depending on the ratio of y'all's distance, okay? So, yes, he could have blasted you out of the air. Mostly because he's transmitting in both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, potentially. He was. DJI drones will do that. So, yep. Yeah, Blunty.
A super guy in your Discord posted a link to, I don't know if you remember, there was a bug with Express LRS where DJI's annoying interference knocked Express LRS out of the air. So if you're on 3.5.3 or earlier, you need to update Express LRS to 3.5.4 or later to avoid that bug.
Yeah. I've heard some people say that Express LRS gets worse range after you flash to those newer versions. I haven't verified that. So there are people who think that the quote-unquote fix, Squid509 says they're on 3.6. So they have got that bug fixed. But that specific bug was a thing. But also just if you've got another radio blasting signal near you, it can just, knock you out by destroying your signal to noise ratio. It doesn't have to be a bug. Anyway, it's the best answer I could give.
Here's what I would say.
Yeah.
You should really put link quality, RSSI DBM, and maybe signal noise ratio in your OSD, and then you won't be guessing about any of this stuff.
100%.
You're gonna see exactly with those numbers changing. You're gonna know exactly what's happening, and you'll have it, presumably recorded as well.
Because people forget. I mean, some people don't forget this, but people often forget that the purpose of the on-screen display is not just for you to use while you're in flight. It's also to use when you're post-morteming a problem. Right? It's why people put GPS coordinates in their OSD. You don't need to know your GPS coordinates while you're flying, most likely. But if you crash and lose your drone, you'll be glad you've got the DVR with the GPS coordinates in them. Having RSSI DBM, link quality, and signal to noise ratio, why not, all in your OSD, you probably will just look at LQ while you're flying. But if you crash and fail safe, being able to go back and look at all three of those numbers can be very, very helpful to people like me and Blunty, or maybe you, as you're trying to figure out what happened. He says he has those in the OSD. Well, yeah.
Earlier you told me they didn't record. So
So here's rule number 2. Always have an SD card in your goggles to record DVR. Nothing sucks more than crashing your drone and people are like, okay, well, check the DVR. Where'd you crash? And you're like, oh, I wasn't recording. Yeah. Banks8292 says, yesterday I asked about NDAA flight controllers for a VTOL and you recommended the TBS Lucid H7. But shouldn't it be one of the wing controllers or can it control flight surfaces? Yeah, no, any flight controller can control servos and wings and so forth. That's not a problem. I guess the wing flight controller is going to be, yeah, okay. I guess the wing flight controller is going to have more servo outputs pre-mapped and ready to go. Yeah, you're not wrong. I might have should have done that. You could make it work with the Lucid H7. That's a good point, though. Blunty, when you do the live stream clip for that clip, you're going to have to do this follow-up and just tie it right in. So the correction can come immediately. People will wonder why I'm wearing a different shirt. The flight controller I really would use if I was building a wing. So you said VTOL, and my mind went, okay, it's a multi-rotor. No, you're right. VTOL is clearly a wing. I would get the H743 wing, but as you said, that's hard to get if you can find it in stock anywhere. The Maytech H743 wing. You could also do the TBS Lucid wing, but I don't know how specialized this is for, like, does this have enough outputs to do what you want it to do, or is it really tailored for, like, the Mojito and the Chipito, right? How many outputs does it have? Does it have all the functionality you want? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 servos? 6 servos is barely enough. 6 servos is enough for a VTOL. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, Blunty.
He's trying to get NDAA.
Well, this is presumably available. All TBS stuff is NDAA these days.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought there was a specific set of hardware that was manufactured like that.
No, you're well, I mean, yes, you're right. No, they don't have any. They haven't gotten to all of their stuff, I guess I would say. Most of their stuff is available in NDAA versions. This one, no. So, yeah, you're boned. I think what you have to do is you have to get the Lucid H7 and then just remap servo outputs. Like, if you look at the... So here's what I would do. Grab a TBS Lucid H7. Flash INAV to it. Set it up as a plane. So the mixer is set up as a plane. In fact, we could do this right now. So I have right here, this is a JB-F7 flight controller that I have INAV on because I was trying to solve that INAV problem earlier. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you what I would do. So this does not have servo outputs pre-mapped. It's made for a multi-rotor. It has motor outputs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the CLI and I'm just going to type defaults. Now I've just flashed it, is my point. That's what I've done by defaulting it. I've just flashed it, and this is the first time I've plugged it in. And I'm going to say airplane with a tail. Okay, great. Airplane with a tail. I'm going to skip all this just to get to the point. Studio disconnected, reconnecting. That's weird. Are we back?
Back for me.
Is the stream live? That was weird. Reconnection successful. Yay, we're back. So I don't know what happened there. That was weird. OBS froze up. I don't think it was my internet. So, okay. What did you see? I factory reset the flight controller and I set the preset as an airplane. Okay. So now what we've got is we've got the airplane control surfaces mapped to outputs. And these are going to be motor outputs. Motor 3, motor 4, motor 5, and motor 6. Right? Okay. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to manually connect my servos, maybe by soldering them. Motor 1, 2, 3, 4 are in the ESC output plug. I'm going to need to rig that up. But S3 is my elevator, S6 is my rudder, S5 and S4 are my ailerons, and S1, that's motor 1, is my motor. Now you want to do VTOL. No problem. Want to do VTOL? What I need to do is I need to add a new mixer. So I hit add new mixer rule. And I'm going to name this, I don't remember. I've done a VTOL before. I've done a VTOL plane before. What is it? Is it stabilized? I don't know. It's yaw, I think. Oh, God. Oh, God. So anyway, then I'm going to go to my old tutorial. Joshua Bardwell INAV VTOL. I'm going to go to this tutorial and remind myself how to set up the mixer. Okay? But my point is that here in the mixer tab, I'm going to map a control surface to each of these things. Right? Save and reboot. Each of these is going to get mapped to a particular motor output. And I'm going to need to manually connect my servos to that motor output. Now, when you buy a wing flight controller, it comes with all the outputs pre-mapped and it's got nice little plugs for your servos. You're not going to have plugs for your servos because you have to do NDAA. And NDAA is just a way of punishing you for being American and working for the government. Presumably, you're doing NDAA because you're working for or selling to the government, right? So let's see. If I add a new servo 5, how do I put that on? Do I need to manually map that? Servo 5. Oh no, look right here. Look right here. Bingo. Okay. Do you see servo 5 is on S7, right? So where's S7? I'm going to look at my flight controller. I'm going to find motor 7. Where's motor 7? Motor 7. Here we go. Motor 7, motor 8. I don't know what S9. Oh, is LED, right? So every time I add a new servo in the mixer, it's going to get assigned to a particular output here in the output mapping, and that's where I'm going to connect the servo. And that's going to be really janky, but if you need, I'm not aware of an NDAA wing flight controller. Enough said. If it's a motor, not a servo. No, wrong. Sorry. It's a signal output. S7 could be a motor. It could be a servo. Flight controller doesn't care. When you add a new mixer rule, INAV assigns it to a signal output. It could be either a motor or a servo. Those signal pads, S1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that normally go to an ESC, they go to a servo. INAV doesn't care. mean, I added a servo in the mixer, and if I added a motor in the mixer, INAV would have put it down on S2, because that's how it's got the banks assigned, right? INAV knows. INAV knows. Like, here in the mixer, right? So here we've got, well, it's all set to auto, right? So what I would normally do, I don't know, am I going to have one motor or two motors? Right? If it's a VTOL, I might have 3 motors or 4 motors. So, like, you got to figure it out. Also, this flight controller only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 outputs. So I can have 9 servos and or motors broken up as you see here. I normally assign these banks manually. So if I was going to have 3 motors, what I would probably do is I would say timer 1 is motors, timer 2 is motors, timer 3, 4, and 8 are servos. And that would give me, let me save and reboot, and it's going to reassign all that stuff. And reconnect. Any day now? No? Okay. Why does INAV sometimes not reconnect? It's kind of annoying. Here we go. Connect. And then what you're going to see is now we have... Oh, I got to zoom out. Sorry. And it's covered up by my head. So now we have motor 1 on S7 and servos over here. But this is going to give me 3 motors on S7, S8, and the LED. So like if I had 2 motors and 1 tail rotor for the VTOL mode, for example. And when I add a new motor, right? If I add 2 new motors, it's going to put them over here as motors, right? So the point is, you're going to go into INAV. I'm assuming you're using INAV. If you're using ArduPilot, that you do the same thing, but it's a different interface, and I don't know exactly how to do it because I'm not as versed with ArduPilot. But you're going to go in, and you're going to say, I need, how many motors do I need? How many servos do I need? And you're going to look at these banks. All of timer 1 has to be either motors or servos. All of timer 2 has to be either motors or servos. And I like to assign them manually, personally. And you're going to go, okay, I got my 3 motors here. I got my 5, 6 servos. Let me add another servo. Sure, why not? I got my 6 servos here. Okay. And then here, looking at the mixer, I'm going to see which control surface goes to which signal and which servo. And then I'm going to just wire that all up by soldering it, right? All right. That's how I would approach it. You're going to do the same thing with a wing flight controller. You're just going to have servo plugs, already pre-installed as opposed to having to solder it up. All right, I think we've said enough about that. Patrick Bridges 735. By the way, one more thing. If anybody knows of a NDAA wing flight controller, put it in the chat. I'm not aware of one other than, well, I'm not aware of one. Period. Yeah, okay. My kid just got a set of DJI Integra and DJI O4 ELRS for Christmas. Chances of getting a fixed wing VTOL FPV to go with it. Any recommendations? So like I built a He-Wing T1. Do you want to buy one pre-made? I'm sure it exists. I don't know enough about the fixed wing world to point you to it. I built, actually it is on the bench behind me. I built a He-Wing T1 Ranger with VTOL. And it's an hour, 21-minute video. This video goes through the mixer setup. It doesn't even go through the building of the plane. It's the conversion of the plane to VTOL. Goes through all of the steps for converting the plane to VTOL, INAV setup, etc., 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 all the stuff. If you want to do it yourself, you could follow my tutorial. If you want to buy one, I could Google search, but you could Google search. I'm not sure I could recommend one. VTOL fixed wing with DJI O4. VTOL fixed wing. Bind and fly fixed wing DJI Digital and Crossfire. It doesn't exist. You have to build it. Okay. Oh, here we go. The OMP Hobby ZMO. Oh, whoops. I don't know if this is a good plane. I'm just trying to find you something that sort of fits the bill. The OMP Hobby ZMO is a VTOL plane that can be ordered with DJI. Well, here's one, no FPV system. It's freaking expensive as crap. I don't think you should pay $1,000 for this plane. Like, you could build a He-Wing T2 for easily half that. And I'm not even sure it's in stock. Well, here we go. VTOL. Does it come with DJI? I mean, it looks like a fine plane. Is that DJI? I'm not sure it comes with DJI, though. I think you got to build your own. I don't know if anybody sells that. There you go. Silverado asks, is there a way to do DJI air unit and a thermal camera? Nope. As well as be able to flip between the two cameras during flights? No. Nope. DJI air unit, if you're using a Vista, someone out there makes a board that takes analog camera input and pipes it through a Vista. And let me see if I can find this company.
I put it in chat.
You found it in the chat. What's the name of the company?
A Neutron RC AV link.
That's it. So the Neutron RC AV link. So this is not exactly what you asked for, but it's close. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to let you have up to 4 analog video inputs. Not DJI cameras, not high definition. Analog cameras. Now, one of those cameras could be a thermal camera. And it'll pipe them over a Vista. So you've got the DJI reliable video link with analog camera quality. And you can use current thermal. But if you're talking about actually having like a full DJI O3 or O4 camera, and then you switch to a thermal camera, doesn't exist. DJI locks down their air units. You really, like, they figured out how to do it with the Vista because the Vista was not sufficiently locked down. But nobody, as far as I know, has, for the O3 or the O4, an external camera input. Doesn't exist. Oof. Look at this. Total latency is 70 to 90 milliseconds. Oof. It's not great. What you want is Walksnail. Walksnail does all the things you're asking for. Except maybe a camera switcher. I don't know that Walksnail has a camera switcher. I think that Walksnail has a dual camera with analog and thermal in one camera. So that's actually probably what you want. Not DJI. Thank you for $10 from Bucket Codes 9456. I've watched your recent videos, they ask, and I don't know where I should put my money in 2026. You can put it right in my pocket. Ha! Sorry, it's a joke. HDZero, DJI, Walksnail, Ascent, ArtLink, Analog, not to buy, just to replace. If you had nothing, what would you buy? I got to tell you, The Ascent and ArtLink, the new systems from Caddx and Beta FPV, it's too preliminary. They have a lot of promise. We just don't know. If you buy into one of those systems, know that you are a trailblazer, and you may find that it's a dead end. The system may not get future development. It may just peter out. You may find that it develops slowly. You probably will find that the performance is not as good as you might like, because the first iteration of these things is always like kind of a little bit like, and then it gets better, right? So I would say, if you're like looking to buy something that you know you can count on, the new systems from Caddx and Beta FPV, the ArtLink and the Protos, they're not what you should get. You should know that you're kind of like a guinea pig and a trailblazer, and that's fine if you want to be that. They're pretty cool. I'm waiting for the Beta FPV ArtLink system to come in the mail. It hasn't come yet. I'm looking forward to testing it. I tested the Caddx Protos, and I thought it had some potential, but I thought the latency was kind of screwed up. As in, like, high. So what does that leave? Analog, DJI, Walksnail, HDZero. If you're in the USA and you don't already own DJI, I wouldn't blame you if you hesitated today. You can get DJI Air units pretty easily. You can get the O4 Pro by buying from Flywoo. Flywoo is repackaging them and shipping them in. But the goggles, I don't know. Can you buy DJI goggles in the USA today? Not very easily, I don't think. Like, they are more likely to get caught up in a... Like, the Air unit, you put it in a Flywoo... Like, what are they going to rebrand them as? The goggles as Flywoo now? I don't know. Maybe. I think the future is uncertain. If you already own DJI goggles, though, you could probably get more Air units. I'm going to guess that you don't, though. And I wouldn't blame you if you hesitated. If you're outside the US, DJI is, like, clearly the best performance of any of the systems in almost every way except latency. If you felt like getting a set of the goggles, you can still get them. If you want to commit to that system, it's very good. And you just buy the goggles, and then you just hope you can continue to get the Air units for the foreseeable future. Walksnail, not quite as good a performance as DJI, but probably will continue to be available because they're not on anybody's radar. Analog, inexpensive and unlikely to be difficult to get ever. This is the safest bet, but the worst performance. And then HDZero, excellent latency, great for racing, probably will still be available for the foreseeable future. Which one would I pick? I gotta tell you. So here's the thing. If I were building a drone today, I would probably put an O4 Air unit in it, just for me to personally fly. As long as it wasn't a racing drone. If it was for racing, I would put HDZero in it. Okay? But I already own DJI goggles, and I'm already well invested in the DJI ecosystem. And I also am pretty confident that if I had to pull some strings or spend a little bit of money, like if DJI was completely banned, and for some reason I was like, I must get some DJI equipment, I would just kind of put some feelers out, and someone would send it to me, and I would get it. So that may not be everybody's situation. If I were starting from scratch, I would be mighty tempted in the USA to just go analog and be like, I can't deal with all this. Let's just give it a year and see how it shakes out. Analog isn't terrible. It's not as good as digital, but it's like simple and inexpensive and like, I've heard rumors it may not be inexpensive forever. I've heard rumors that the Richwave chip that goes in analog receivers is like quadrupling in price because Richwave figured out that people are buying a bunch of analog gear to put into weapon drones in Ukraine and elsewhere. And Richwave was, I don't know if that's true. So, if I had nothing, what would I buy? If I had nothing in the USA, it wouldn't be DJI because I just wouldn't feel confident I could still get it. Probably wouldn't be Walksnail, because Walksnail is as expensive as DJI, but like still not really quite as good in terms of performance. It's like okay. I probably would just go analog, and it's like it's shitty, but at least it's not too expensive, and I can get it anywhere. You know what I mean? I probably would just be analog. I'm kind of disgusted. Anyway. All right, there's your answer. Have you noticed that you have to hold the throttle stick down when you hit the arm switch? No, I haven't. Because I calibrate my gimbals correctly. And you don't. You need to calibrate your gimbals.
No matter what controller you've got, calibrating your sticks is essential to getting...
You're calibrating your gimbals wrong. If you have to hold your throttle down before you can arm, recalibrate your gimbals, and do it according to this video. The thing that you're doing wrong is that when you calibrate the gimbal... Oh, look at this. I got my overhead camera today. Is it working? Nah. Oh, right. I have to plug the HDMI in. Well, sure, that makes sense, doesn't it? Oh, no. I've screwed it up. It won't work if the HDMI is not plugged in. There we go. Oh, hey, there you go. So, what people do wrong when they calibrate their radio is when they calibrate, they move the sticks up, down, left, right, and they push too hard. There is flex in the gimbal. Now, if you have a metal frame gimbal like the AGO1 or the AGO2, there's less flex. Okay? But there's some flex in the gimbal. And what happens is you calibrate and you push down too hard. And that throws off the calibration. So that then when you just normally put the stick down, it's not all the way down. Because you calibrated it that all the way down is that extra little bit. So when you calibrate, don't be a gorilla finger. When you calibrate and you go left, right, up, down, just touch. Just touch. Just touch. Just touch. Right? You see how when I go left, right, up, down, I'm not exerting any force. I'm just using the minimum force. And that calibrates it correctly. And then you don't have to put extra force to push it down when you're trying to arm. Thank you for $20 from Doomsday Rebel, who asks, my Radio Master Boxer fell off the table and now my range is crap. So you probably broke the antenna internally or maybe externally. I've got, be careful, because if you run the module with a broken antenna, you can destroy the module, which may have already happened. I got the Doobie Drone Lionbee dev kit. It's getting 1,000 meters before my RSSI DBM negative 98 alarm. That doesn't seem too bad, actually. A kilometer to negative 98 dBm. My TTHD with HDO FSV2 used to go a mile, now only getting 50 yards. How do I know if it's the transmitter or my receivers? The answer is to do the table test. The table test, to get to the table test, you search for Express ELRS before first flight. And on that page, there is the bench test. And the bench test tells you if you have a broken receiver or a broken controller by testing the RSSI under controlled conditions. Okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to test several different receivers and one radio, and then get a different radio and test that radio and see if one radio always has bad results or one receiver always has bad results. That's what you need to do. Here's a $5 super chat from John Bergen 2734. I'm looking into which video system to commit to for long range. DJI seems like the best. No, it isn't. Not for long range. Now, it depends on what you mean by long range. If by long range you mean 5 or 10 kilometers, DJI can do that. Not too difficult. To get a DJI system will go 2 or 3 kilometers with zero effort. With a little bit of attention to your antenna placement and so forth, you'll get maybe 5 or 10 kilometers. And people have pushed DJI out to 20 or 30 kilometers. But that's with customized antennas. It's not just... And that's like a wing flying up in the sky, going straight. You got like a 2 megabit per second bit rate. The horizon is all pixely, but you can still technically see where you're going and have link. It's not like I'm flying through a forest and I need to see all the details. Okay? For long range, well, you want to be able to have high gain antennas. Okay, that's one thing. So DJI, especially the Goggles 3, doesn't make it easy to put aftermarket antennas on the goggles. You have to open the Goggles 3 up in order to put aftermarket antennas on. It's really not made for it. So Walksnail gives you external external antenna connectors. You can easily connect a Walksnail goggle to high gain antennas, and Walksnail has been out, I don't know, tens of kilometers. HDZero, same deal. One difference is that HDZero and Walksnail, it is not easy to get a high power video transmitter. So the highest power Walksnail video transmitter is the GT. It outputs 2 watts. HDZero, the highest power video transmitter, is the Freestyle. It outputs 1 watt. That's it. So you're going to put a high gain antenna on your goggles. You got a 1 watt or a 2 watt VTX. You're going to fly as far as you can fly. That's it. You can't go any further. One of the advantages of analog is I can get off of AliExpress a 10 watt analog video transmitter if I want. So with analog, if I don't like 5.8 gigahertz, I can go down to 3.3 gigahertz. I can go to 1.3 gigahertz. So analog is the king of long range. Because you have the ability to easily use high gain antennas, which some digital systems let you do. But with analog, you have the ability to easily increase your output power, which most digital systems don't let you do. And you have the ability to switch to different frequencies, and lower frequencies will go further than higher frequencies. So analog, if you're serious about long range, analog is king. Thank you for a $20 super chat from Ideanism1457. I currently have the DJI V1 system in my 2 drones, and I'm building a fixed wing right now. Should I switch to Walksnail for future-proof, or try to find V1 VTXs? Or try to find O4 stuff on Marketplace with the current DJI situation? Yeah, so if you have the V1 goggles, you don't have a lot of options. Like, will the Vista still work with the V1 goggles? Does anyone know? Like, presumably, if you flash to a super old firmware, maybe it will. I don't know. I would think that the V1 system is more or less dead these days. Scrappy FPV says, yes, the Vista will work. So if you could source Vistas, you could keep going.
Wait,
presumably.
are you asking if Vistas work with a V1 goggle?
Well, I know they did once upon a time. Has DJI changed the firmware ecosystem so the Vistas don't work anymore? If you like, if you're on 0608, if you're on 0608, do they work with the V1 goggles?
Yes, if they're on 1.1, they don't.
Okay, that's the same as the V2. Great.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So what you should do is you should try to get your hands on some Vistas. But that's increasingly difficult and expensive. You know what I mean? I have a few Vistas, actually, that I realized I should probably sell. I'm not using them anymore, and eventually no one will want them. So if you're trying to buy Vistas, what's that?
I might take one of those.
You might
off your
want
hand.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
For you, of course. Oops. The YouTube window just crashed. It's out of memory. It's back up again. Should I switch to Walksnail? Well, Walksnail, if you're used to DJI V1, switching to Walksnail will actually be an improvement in performance. And will be much more future-proof. So, yeah, that's a fair bet. If you're in the United States, I'm not sure. You got to really want O4s to switch to O4 today. given the uncertainty about procurement of DJI stuff. Pavel Kotkov, thank you for €5. I have a Cinelog 3.0 V3. When descending horizontally at low throttle, there is Propwash vibrations and noise. How can I deal with this? Do not descend horizontally at low throttle. You're describing an inherent flight characteristic of a 3-inch Cinewhoop. Now, some are better and some are worse. But the Cinelog is pretty decent. And it's like, when I am driving my car and I'm going real fast and I slam on the brakes, the tires squeal. What should I do? You don't do that, right? So what you need to do when you're descending is you need to be pitched forward a little bit, not flat. And you need to not be at low throttle. You need to, like, if you pitch forward a little bit, you may be able to get away with lowering the throttle. But if you're descending flat, you want to leave the throttle a little bit up, which will slow the descent rate and give it a little more stability. But the number one answer is, if you're descending flat and you're getting a lot of Propwash oscillation, you need to pitch forward and be moving forward out of your own Propwash. That's the answer. Tornok one. If anybody wants to buy one of the Vistas, just DM me on Discord. I have I think one sold today. I have 3 more. Hey JB, do DJI still repair the O3 air unit? I do not know. Thank you for a $2 donation. I honestly don't know whether they would still repair it. The O3 is end of life. They don't make it anymore. Would they still repair it? So maybe. I honestly don't know. Sorry, I don't have the answer for you there. Thank you, Scrap Heap FPV, for a $5 super chat. Would you go with the HDZero goggles for new pilots due to the fact that they do analog and HDZero and even Walksnail, and the Box Pros are $350? Yeah, so if you're interested in analog or HDZero, the Box Pro or the H is some of the best value you could possibly get. It is a box goggle, and you can get analog goggles, like binocular style goggles, for close to $350, maybe $450, right? And so, but my goodness, the box goggles are so good in terms of what they can do, and $350 is a great price. If you want to do Walksnail, I don't think I would. If you're going full into Walksnail, just buy the Goggles X. Don't buy the HDZeros with the Walksnail VRX. It's just a big, bulky, heavy. It's a bunch of BS. It's not worth it. Yes, the HDZero goggles are better than the Goggles X as goggles, but as Walksnail goggles, that's a lot to ask in terms of size and so forth. But if you're doing analog and or HDZero, yep, absolutely. HDZero goggles are pretty expensive. That's kind of a lot to ask. Thank you for $5 from Casino Cash Room. The USB port on my Hummingbird Whoop Racespec V2 AIO broke off. I was wondering if there's a way to do PID tuning other than the USB port. Yeah, you could do PID tuning through the Betaflight menu. You're going to go center throttle, yaw left, pitch forward, just like that. Just like that. And it'll bring up a menu. You're going to use the right stick to navigate the menu. And you can do PID tuning there, including simplified PID tuning, like with the sliders. Here's a super chat from Joao 1602. I live in Europe, and DJI limits me to 25 milliwatts. Is there a way to get around this? Yes. You just do the FCC unlock or the ham unlock. H-A-M. Jamon. The ham unlock. Technically, you're only supposed to do that if you're in the United States. And not supposed to do that if you're in Europe, but nobody cares. DJI doesn't care. So you just look up DJI ham unlock or DJI FCC unlock, and that will unlock full power. If you do that, you will be breaking the rules. You will be, you could get in trouble. Europeans could come and fine you, most likely. Probably not put you in jail. So, but no one really cares. Mostly. Doomsday Rebel, thank you for a $5 super chat. If it is my internal ELRS, how difficult of a fix is that on a Boxer? To replace the internal module? So, like, look, if you blew out your internal module, most people would just buy an external module, hang it off the module bay, and go on with their life. However, you absolutely can buy the module by itself. It is $32, and it's not that difficult to replace. You have to open your radio up. If you've ever opened a radio up before, you're going to open the radio up, you're going to disconnect some plugs, you're going to take out some screws, you're going to lift it out, you're going to put the new one in, you're going to put everything back together the way that it was, and you'll be on with your life. I would do it. If I blew out my internal module somehow, I 100% would just buy, because it's only $32, and I don't have a big honking module hanging off the back of my radio, and I just not sure I could show my face. If it, like, here's the thing. I would have to say I was too lazy to replace the module. I just couldn't be bothered. But if the truth was I was afraid to do it because I thought I would damage my radio, I would feel so much shame. You don't have to feel shame, but I would feel shame. And then I would have to do it just to alleviate my shame. But if you are like, nah, if I open that radio up, I'm gonna make things worse, not better, then just leave it alone. And just plug in an external module. But you can get a replacement, for sure. Thank you for $5 from Pavel Katkov. Is it possible to configure the latest version of Betaflight directly through the DJI Goggles 3 using a controller without a cable or computer? Yeah, exactly what I showed previously. That menu, the stick command that brings up the Betaflight menu, that is gonna... like, do people not know about that? I guess not. I mean, I guess you shouldn't assume what people do and don't know.
I guess it depends on what you mean by configure the Betaflight.
I mean, you could do a lot.
Like, you can't set up your modes tab.
No, you're right. Like, Flight 1 used to be able to do everything through the OSD. KISS, I believe. KISS Ultra, you could do, or FETTech, you could do everything through the OSD. Betaflight, no, not so much. Not everything, but a lot. So, like, hang on. Let me plug in this newbie drone Lionbee. There we go. And I'm going to turn on my radio. KISS Ultra also has full OSD. Okay, wasn't sure about that. So, my crash flip switch. Shut up. Not crash flip switch. Okay, first of all, this frickin' camera from frickin' newbie drone, their frickin' cameras are annoying as shit. They like white out and you can't see the OSD. It's kind of annoying. I'm not here to just bitch about newbie drone. That's what Blunty's job is. But it is annoying. I wish I could just, can I just put something in front of this? There we go. So what I'm going to do, here we go, ready? I'm going to go doink. And here's the menu. Now, this is actually not the Betaflight menu. This is a custom firmware, I believe. Like, because I don't, this is this quick menu I don't recognize. This may be like the CAC firmware they flash for racing or something. I don't know. But you've got this menu here, and we can do configuration. If I go to main and go to profile and go to PIDs, here I can change the PIDs, right? If I go to simplified tuning, I can adjust the sliders, which is what I would use. These are basically your PID sliders. MISC PP, MISC PID profile. You can change PID stuff, filtering, rate profile, rates. You can change rates. I can change some filter stuff, dynamic filtering. If I go to features, I can adjust black box features, VTX settings, LED strip. Now, a lot of this stuff is tailored toward what you would want to change in the field. So there are a ton of settings that you cannot access here. Failsafe.
Yeah, like someone in chat asked about air mode. Like, I don't think you can do anything to air mode in this.
No. GPS settings. I do see you can change the failsafe procedure. GPS rest. That'd make it easy to change if like you couldn't get GPS lock and you want to just turn that off. Like if I go failsafe GPS rescue, can I allow arming without fix? I can. I can enable arming without fix. So if I was like somewhere and I couldn't get GPS lock and I couldn't get arm, I could real quick enable arming without fix. So OSD. Interestingly, in the OSD, I can turn elements on and off, but I can't move them around. Which, like, I don't know what good that is. I guess if I already had a layout, I could turn the elements on and off. But I can't change the layout. It would be really nice if they let you move them around. So there's a bunch of stuff that you can change. But you can't change everything. Calibrate, gyro, accelerometer. Anyway, you can change some things, but not everything. Unplug this Lionbee. Ow! It's burning my hand. There we go. Okay. And you can do all that. By the way, that was all done on analog, but you can do all that in the DJI goggles too. Because the DJI goggles, it's just Betaflight OSD. Thanks for $5 from I Have a Fly. I want to build the smallest drone I can that has the DJI O4 Pro air unit and also carry a vertical mounted Osmo Nano camera. What size? 56 gram camera. Boy, oh boy. I feel like you probably could get off the ground with a 2-inch drone, but you're gonna hate your life. You want the O4 Pro? No, I don't know, man. 2.5 inch, 3 inch for sure. Okay, 3 inch for sure. 2.5 inch probably. 2 inch, like I bet it would lift off, but it would fly like crap. So I would say 2.5 inch. With the O4 Pro. I would strongly encourage you to get the O4 Lite, though. But 3 inch for sure. 2.5 inch probably, maybe. 2 inch, you can, but you shouldn't. And maybe you can't. That's what I would say. Anybody? The Flylens 85 flies great. So the Flylens, right, so that's my point. The Flylens 85 with the O4 Pro flies okay. Now, it flies way better with the O4 Lite. I think that 85 millimeters with the O4 Pro is as small as I am happy to go. But you put another 56 grams on there for the camera plus the mount, and now I think you're hating your life. Okay? I think you need to be up around 95 millimeters with a 3 inch to really do that. And like I've flown 3 inch drones with a full GoPro. So like I know that can be done. All right. Let's see here. Why not? Yeah, wait a minute. Why the hell do you want the HD camera if you've got an O4 Pro? Why not just record on the O4 Pro? It's fantastic. Why would you also carry that vertical camera? Just record on the O4 Pro and save yourself the weight. I'm sure you have a reason. And wait a minute. Why do you want the O4 Pro if you're going to be carrying a second camera? Okay, so you're not using the O4 Pro's footage. Use the O4 Lite and save yourself the weight. I don't know.
He said O4 Lite isn't good enough quality.
Why are you carrying the second camera? If you care, it's not good enough quality. It's good enough quality to fly off of. Right? He's trying to record for TikTok. Oh, Yeah, so what? Just take the O4 Pro, cut it vertical, right? Right? Come on. Cut it vertical. Oh, bad field of view. Okay. You clearly know what you want. No, stop. If you want the vertical footage from the second camera as your final product, then put an O4 light on the drone. The quality of the O4 light is fine to fly off of. It's fine. You'll do fine. Save yourself a ton of weight. I need both horizontal and vertical at the same time. Okay. Okay. Sure. So you need a usable, professional, final quality, horizontal and vertical from the same flight. There you go. You want a 3-inch, I think. 3-inch. The O4 Pro is not as good as a standalone camera can be. Yes, absolutely, that is true. Is it as good as the camera he's going to be using? Because he's not using a freaking Z-Cam. I'm kind of surprised, and again, you know your business, and I don't. I'm kind of surprised that the O4 Pro, in super wide aspect ratio, or super wide FOV, with 4K recording, that you can't just take a 16:9 vertical slice out of the center and call it a day. You're saying you can't, and I believe you because you know your customer and you know your business. But I'm surprised to hear that. Yeah, you're carrying DJI Osmo Nano. Yeah. Okay. Hey, he knows what he wants. Here's the question. I have a fly. Answer me honestly. Do you make money at this? Or are you gonna make money someday? Because if you have a paying customer, I defer you, obviously. I'm really curious, though, whether this is, I am a working professional and this is what my customer wants and Bardwell is out of touch. Because I'm not a working professional. I'm a YouTuber. I talk to working professionals. I'm doing it right now. Or is this, I'm a guy who's making footage for my TikTok and my YouTube channel and this is what I think I want, but no one is actually paying me for this. Well, he says he has paying customers. Okay. You got it. You got it. I believe you. It's surprising. What doesn't work about, you take the O4 Pro, you put it in super wide, and you record 4K if you care that much about resolution, and then you just take a 69 slice out of the center. What doesn't work? Doesn't work about that? Is it the resolution? Is it the field of view? No, I want to learn. I want to learn something. Now, I wouldn't want to fly it twice. Time is money. I wouldn't want to fly it twice, I believe. I assumed the FOV would be garbage and not as good resolution. Well, no. I'm not convinced the FOV would be garbage. The O4 Pro, when you put it in super wide, it is extremely wide because the lens is ultra wide, so they could do image stabilization. So what they do is they have an ultra-wide lens, you go down to a normal field of view, and then they have all this extra lens area for stabilization. But if you just set it to super wide, it's ridiculously wide. I suspect that even vertically, it will give you the field of view you want. I think super wide is too wide for typical use, which is probably what you want. As far as resolution, well, how much resolution do you need? You're uploading to TikTok. Okay, right? So you take a 4K, you take a 16:9 vertical slice out of the center. I'm not going to do the math. I suspect that's still enough resolution to get good results on TikTok, but I could be wrong. I think you should try it out before you commit to this. You should just take an O4 Pro, put it in super wide, record, and see what kind of results you get. And that may save you the trouble of carrying 2 cameras, which obviously would be desirable. Like here's me on TikTok. Ha! Like, do I really care if I'm getting full 4K resolution? I don't know. I don't think so. TikTok only supports 1080p anyway, says McShaky. So tell me something, guys. Somebody do the math for me. If you take a 16:9 slice out of the center of a 4K horizontal image, what's the resulting resolution? I don't have to do math. Oh, you know what? Hang on, Blenty. It's time. It's time for Let's Ask Gemini. Let's ask AI a question. If I take a 16:9 slice out of the center, vertical slice out of the center of a 4K horizontal frame, what is the resulting 16:9 resolution? Let's see if it gets the math. I won't know if the answer is correct. Do the math for me. Show me your work. Oh, it's 916. Yes, that's 916. It's thinking. Show code. Yes, well done. Well done. That is correct. Look at this. We got some Python code. I love when it shows the code. Times 916. Calculate for DCI 4K just in case. 1250. Why was DCI different? Oh, because it's wider. 1215. It's 1215 by 2160. 1920 by 1080. So this is still more than 1080 resolution. 1920 by 1080. This is that 916 slice is still more than 1080. And that's more than what TikTok gives you anyway. You're not losing anything. Thank you. That was a good answer. Thank you. That was a good answer. Well done. Stop reminding me that, see, you don't need to remind me of that. I praised it. Oh. Oh. What are you trying to tell me? Okay, what bit rate? 26% more pixels. What's the effective bit rate of the resulting vertical video? You're assuming it's at 100 megabits per second. I do think the O4 does 100 megabits per second. Still, 31 megabits per second is fine for a 1080 video. That's fine. It's not like the best, but it's fine. I think it's fine. I think that vertical slice, as long as the field of view works for you, I don't think you're actually losing anything by resolution, assuming your final deliverable is 1080p. If you actually wanted a 4K deliverable, then, or if you needed a 4K intermediate for editing or effects, like if you were doing some After Effects shit and you wanted to do all kinds of render, custom, 3D stuff, you might want a 4K intermediate. But I don't think you are. All right. All right. Tell us about hog remains. Oh, that's tell us about the hog remains, chat. That is in the game. Okay. My son is playing Satisfactory. And in Satisfactory, when you kill a hog, you get hog remains, which can be used for crafting. Satisfactory is a crafting game. And he asked me what kind of things you could use hog remains for. So I tried to look it up. Okay. Doomsday Rebel. It has the Happy Model Crystal ELRS kind in it, so I'm not sure if I screwed up both. Oh, well, I'm not even... What are we talking about, Doomsday Rebel? Doomsday Rebel. Hello. Can you filter for me? Filter. 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 Clear this filter. Enter. Why can I not filter?
He's the one who was asking about the Radio Master Boxer that fell off the table.
Oh. Happy Model Crystal ELRS. What does that mean? What is Happy Model Crystal ELRS, though? That phrase doesn't make sense to me.
I think that's from earlier.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hopefully we answered his questions. Delta Lima says, thanks. Greetings from Germany. I got a question. Gyro scaled, is it available anymore in Betaflight? What should I use for filter and PID tuning? Gyro scaled is still a thing, but maybe not in exactly the way that you think. So let me get my Betaflight flight controller out here. The fuck is that? What's going on there, man? That is weird. Yeah, that's weird. Something about the Betaflight configurator, INAV configurator. I don't know. That's weird. Okay. Picking up where we left off. That's weird. I don't like that. So here in Black Box, you don't need to set gyro scaled anymore in the debug mode. It's not there. Gyro scaled is gone. Well, how do we do what we need to do? Here, gyro unfiltered. That's what used to be called gyro scaled. Everybody used gyro scaled so much that they were like, that's not really a debug mode anymore. It's just a standard mode. Okay? So this is what you want. This is gyro scaled. And it is on by default now. Okay? So that's what you're looking for.
They're saying there's no sound.
There's no sound?
Did you mute maybe somehow?
Check. No, I'm still going out.
Oh, there's like a whole chat saying muted.
I'm not muted.
Weird. Half the chat said sound is okay and half the chat said
reload. Reload the stream. No, I'm definitely going out. I can see the meters moving and I can hear myself in my... Yeah. Set up OBS stream. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Yeah. Here we are.
Okay.
Cool. At least my internet's fast. Yeah. People are pointing out that ModalAI has a... Whoa, look at this. ModalAI has an NDAA compliant RGPilot flight controller. Okay, so you gotta... Well, if you're doing a VTOL plane, you're probably using RGPilot. $200. ModalAI. What's full kit?
Do you know anything about this company?
Not really. I've heard
their
a little
bit.
Bandied about. What do you know about them?
Here's the thing that I think is interesting. I don't know what's in the VRX, but they have a VRX and a VTX, so they're very expensive.
Yeah.
Well, not a VTX. They have it attached to a flight controller, and then they have a separate VRX. But the reason is because they're from Qualcomm. They're a bunch of people that came out of Qualcomm. So if somebody's going to have a competing video system, it might be people who left Qualcomm in 2018.
But they don't have a video system, do they?
They do have a video system, that's what I'm saying.
It's their own video system.
It's their own video system, yeah. Well, I don't know if there's some chip in there we don't know about, but it is,
That's
their own video system.
Interesting. What is this? That's the Zorro. The Zorro Blue. Shut up. Is that an NDAA Radiomaster Zorro made by ModalAI? Oh, I have seen this before. I saw a person once with this on his goggles, and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
And
so
now
that
I
is
know. Now I know what it is.
$1,600.
Is it analog? What is it? Is it
No,
digital?
that's the digital VRX of their own design. Yes.
No shit.
But there's another SKU on there for
Oh, and
just
that's
the VRX.
that just is HDMI out because that's just the Orca goggles.
Yeah.
What is this Zorro Blue? Blue UAS. Presumably.
Yeah, I assume it's just a blue branded
It's a-
Zorro because we've seen the
No,
couple
no,
of
no,
ELRS systems.
no. That's got to be. That's Blue UAS, right? Zorro Blue implies that it's USA made, right?
Yes.
Oh, Doodle Labs. It's a Doodle radio. Okay. Catalog. Built in USA. Show me the Zorro Blue built in the USA. Surely not. Is it a Zorro? Is it a non-NDAA Zorro that they just call the Zorro Blue and they hope their customers like don't notice? I mean, that would be. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, so I should be careful to say. Like, why is it the Zorro Blue? Radiomaster, that's weird. How is the Zorro... That's weird. Stinger Vision FPV. Stinger Vision. The Stinger Vision. I like that thick carbon. That's good. Oh my god. $3,300. Okay. Look at that. What video system is this? How much latency is it? I want to know. Is it digital? It must be digital.
It's almost certainly digital.
Like it's digital. How much latency is there? Digital HD with 256-bit encryption. Long-range video tested up to 11 kilometers. That's not long range. 35 to 45 millisecond glass to glass. Depending on configuration. Big if. Dual band? Toggle and fly 3 cameras? Interesting. Low light eyes. Wow. How about that? Look at that. ModalAI. There you go. Stinger Vision. Seeker Vision. Oh, I'm not that interested. How about that? Voxel 2 Mini. AI capabilities. Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm out of my depth. Is this FPV? Is this what FPV? It's like that scene in Fight Club when he says, "Is that what a real man looks like?" I feel like I'm having that moment right now. Like, is this what a real FPV drone looks like? Uh-huh. 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 Looks mighty familiar. Is that a boson? Is that a flare? I think it is. Interesting. Interesting. What a world. And then that's a dual band antenna. That's the Luminaire dual band, or I guess it's got a True RC branding on it. It's a dual. It looks like the DJI dual band antenna that Luminaire made. Oh, True RC makes antennas for Luminaire. That's why. And that motor is that's just a, what motor is that? What motor is that? Is that a Luminaire motor? Luminaire Zip? It's got to be an NDAA motor, so. It's not the 28. Yeah, there you go. Zip. It's the Luminaire Zip. I got it in one. So Luminaire is making this shit. This is all Luminaire gear. Well, not all of it. I'll bet that's Luminaire frame. Yeah, that's a Luminaire Zip motor, which Luminaire makes NDAA stuff. That's probably made in the USA. That's a Luminaire infrared. How about that? What a world. And here's what's funny. And I say this, I shouldn't say this because people are going to think I'm throwing stones. And the fact that I have to preface it by saying that means that a wiser man just wouldn't say it. But, I say, I speak my mind. Can't muzzle me. Everybody's mad at Rotor Riot. Rotor Riot this and Rotor Riot that. Don Jr. this, Don Jr. that. I don't know what the fuck ModalAI is. All I know is there's a shitload. There's Luminaire motors. There's Luminaire LEDs. I think that might be a Luminaire frame. I'm not. There's Luminaire shit all over this blue UAS American-made drone. Luminaire's all about the NDAA. I wonder why. Luminaire NDAA. They got a ton of NDAA stuff. They got flight controllers. They got a ton of stuff. They're going after. Here's my point. Luminaire's going after the exact same markets that Rotor Riot's going after. They're probably making more money. They're probably better at it. And you know what I think? And that's not to point a finger or throw stones. It really isn't. But it is interesting to me. And I think of this. Did you hear the story about all the comedians who went over to Saudi Arabia and they did this, Riyadh comedy festival? And like Bill Burr did the Riyadh comedy festival and his fans were so mad at him. They could not believe that Bill Burr would do the Riyadh Comedy Festival. And we're not even going to should you or shouldn't. We're not going to even touch that, right? But it was interesting to me because Jimmy Carr got zero blowback. Now, you may not know who Jimmy Carr and Bill Burr are if you're not. Bill Burr is a man of the people. Bill Burr speaks truth to power. He's an everyman. And when he went and did that, people were like, Bill, I thought you were better than that. And he lost, I think he got a lot of blowback. And he spoke out about it, whatever. Jimmy Carr is an inveterate asshole who is in it for the money. Jimmy Carr has never pretended to be a good person. Now, Jimmy Carr probably is like a decent person. He's not a terrible person. Like Dave Chappelle seems like a terrible person. This is my personal take. You could disagree. Jimmy Carr seems like a thoughtful man, a decent man. When I see him do crowd interaction, sometimes people ask questions, and he will come out with this shows that he is a thoughtful, philosophical man and he also does dick jokes. But Jimmy Carr's never pretended to be a man of the people. He has always been better than you. He is wealthy. He is aloof. And so when Jimmy Carr takes a paycheck and goes and does the Riyadh Comedy Festival, people are like, yeah, of course. What? Yeah. He took a paycheck. He doesn't care. He never pretended to care. But when Bill Burr, man of the people, does the exact same thing, his audience is disappointed. And here's what it goes back to. I think the reason Rotor Riot gets all the flack they get for trying to go after Blue UAS, NDAA, military, Don Jr., whatever, and Luminaire doesn't? Well, number one, Luminaire shuts the fuck up. Luminaire's not out there making it. They just quietly sell gear. And there's certainly a lot of value in just keeping your head down and not letting anybody notice you. But also, Luminaire's just a business. They just sell stuff. They sell drones. So they freaking sell some NDAA drones they sell parts to ModalAI. Great. They sell parts to, who knows who they sell parts to? Of course they do. They're a store. They just sell parts. But Rotor Riot, man of the people. And I guess, live by the sword, die by the sword is the takeaway. Rotor Riot gained popularity as the man of the people, representative of the hobby. And that's the Bill Burr. Then they turn around and they do this, and people are like, they're betrayed. And Rotor and Luminaire is the Jimmy Carr, as in this analogy. I don't know. It's a world we live in. It's a world we live in. We don't have to like it. We don't like it. But it is the world we live in. When that whale comes in the room, people notice. Anyway. Yeah, but at the end of the day, Rotor Riot is also a business, and they always were. Well, that's the thing. The mistake is that you thought Rotor Riot wasn't a business. And Rotor Riot fed into that belief. Especially in the early days. Community. It's the disillusionment that hurts. Just wait, it's coming. You live long enough, you die the hero, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right? That's the saying. I'm doing okay. How long? Am I the villain yet? Well, not to you guys. You're watching my stream. You like me. I got a comment from somebody. He said, I replied to the FAA memo. And somebody said, man, Bardwell, you've changed. Bardwell from 3 years ago would have been outraged. You've changed. And I said, no, I wouldn't have been. I mean, I'm as outraged as I am. I have always tried to take a very sort of middle of the road and not like just rah rage, you know. And I looked up my response to when Remote ID was finalized, which was just about 3 years ago. And I was like, look at this video. 3 years ago, Remote ID got finalized. Do you see me rah raging? I made what I think still to this day was a very, like, here are the facts. Here is what you can do. Yes, this sucks, but let's just, you know, let's keep up with our life. I don't think, like, for me, I don't think it helps to just be like, like, I'll rage to my wife, but I'm not going to use my channel as an outlet for my personal, most of the time. Sometimes on live streams, just, you know, every so often, you know. And so this guy said 3 years ago, you've changed. He didn't say mellowed out. What he said was, you know, I don't know, sold out or whatever. You know, 3 years ago, you would have been outraged. I was like, no, 3 years ago, something terrible happened. And I was just as sort of, you know, middle of the road, trying to provide balance. You know, people like Madstick and Bachgrinder get up and we're angry. And I'm like, guys. And then I try to get up and be the voice of reason. And people are like, Bardwell doesn't care. Or even worse, they're like, yeah, you're just doing it because you're friends with so-and-so. What are you going to do? Okay, enough about that. Earlier, you're a young kid. Earlier Rotor Riot was mostly Vanover, so not much has changed. Could not be more wrong. Vanover was like the third or fourth generation of pilots to come onto Rotor Riot. Oh my God. So the first generation was Steel, Final Glide, Tommy, and Steel, Final Glide, Tommy, and Sharpoo was the first generation of Rotor Riot. Then sort of, in my mind, Stinger Swarm came in, Sharpoo left, Final Glide left, I came in, Bachgrinder came in, Corey came in, and to me, like, I would say we were probably Gen, like, 2 or 3, depending on how you slice it up. Vanover came in about that same time, although I think Vanover came in, he was there about the same time I came in. Because I remember when I first started doing Quad Camp, Vanover was there. So he was Gen 2, but he was not early Rotor Riot. He was already sophomore level Rotor Riot. Not even like freshman level. He was not a founder, for sure. Anyway. I would not call Vanover early Rotor Riot. Because I wasn't early Rotor Riot. Rotor Riot was well established by the time I got there. Anyway. Why do Deadcat flames fly worse than X, and is there a way to fix it? First, prove to me that Deadcat frames fly worse. I'm going to give you 2 frames, an X and a Deadcat, blind. You're going to fly them back to back. You're going to tell me which is which. You don't even have to tell me which is which. We'll do a triple test where you'll fly one, then you'll fly another, and you just tell me if it's the same one or a different one. We're going to have to figure out a way to get the motors out of view so you can't see, but you're only going to tell from the way it flies. I don't think most people could tell the difference. So question all your assumptions. The reason why Deadcat frames theoretically fly different is that the motors are not symmetrical. So when the motors are symmetrical, pitch and roll are completely independent. When the motors are not symmetrical, then when you let's say we've got a Deadcat and the motors are wider in the front than they are in the rear. Then when you go to rotate, the front has different lever arm length than the rear, and the front may rotate faster or slower than the rear. Also, the weight distribution is different, so it will accelerate differently. So when the weight is more centered, it will accelerate more readily. When the weight is more spread out, it will accelerate slower. And with the Deadcat, that changes. So with the Deadcat, sometimes when you put roll in, snap roll, you will get a little bit of movement on yaw as well as roll. You can sometimes fix it with a motor mixer. You do a custom motor mixer. But probably you can't tell the difference, and it doesn't matter. If you can tell the difference, that's why. It's the layout of the motors and the layout of the weight and mass. The differing lever arm between the front and the rear motors means they don't accelerate the same. And a motor mixer, a custom motor mixer that takes into account the asymmetrical nature of the motors, would help with that. Mamumush asks, how do you convert OSD throttle values to channel values? 40% converts to 1250 or whatever for GPS setup. Yeah, no problem. What you're going to do is you're going to take 1000 to 2000. 1000 is 0%, 2000 is 100%. So 1100 is 10%, 1200 is 20%, 1300 is 30%, and so on and so on. 1350 is 35%. That's how you do it. I mean, I could give you a mathematical formula, but I think you get the idea. Is there any way to make latency less on the DJI V2 goggles when using an analog VRX? I don't know for sure, but sometimes switching from NTSC to PAL makes a difference. I don't know why or whether, but try, if you're using NTSC, switching to PAL or vice versa. Fairville points out that assumes a linear throttle, which a lot of people don't use. Yeah, that's a good point. I ran into this when setting up my GPS, where I had a throttle scale, and it was throwing off the throttle values that I was seeing in the OSD. I don't know what you could do if you have a nonlinear throttle, because it's just going to show the stick position. I think you need to use a linear throttle, or you would need to, I guess you could look in black box, but that's like, who wants to do that? Like, it should be pretty easy to temporarily switch to a linear throttle, find your hover point, configure it, and go back. We got a ton of super chats that are stacking up, and only 10 minutes left in the stream. Let me get these out of the way. First one is from Skullbuster. Thank you for a $5 super chat. I ignorantly bought a ROC7 AnalogPNP. It doesn't say anything about the VTX other than analog. Yeah, it's an analog. It's an analog 5.8 gigahertz VTX. That's like all you need to know. They're all compatible. All analog 5.8 gigahertz VTXs are compatible. Can I switch that camera with an O4 Pro? You can switch the camera and the VTX? Sure. Absolutely. You can't switch just the camera. You have to switch the video transmitter and the camera together. An analog VTX is not compatible with a DJI camera or vice versa.
Just be aware, if it's on modern firmware, you're going to want to back up and reflash for digital so you can get OSD.
Right? Digital OSD is going to require a reflash, annoyingly. Sunshine. Thank you for $10, Sunshine. Older Lumineer flight controller fried on 6-inch, replaced with a Speedy F405. Same tune, Superfly. Same rates. Switch the air unit for the O4 Pro. Flies more floaty and loose. New electronics or user error? Hard to say. That's hard to say. I wouldn't think that the flight controller would make a radical difference in the floaty or looseness of the quad. The main thing a new flight controller would do would be it would have a noisier or cleaner gyro. That could result in hotter or cooler motors, and it could result in more or less like trilling oscillation under certain circumstances. But as far as floaty and loose goes, I wouldn't think that a flight controller would change that much in the floaty loose department.
Just
Yeah.
random suggestion. Maybe you forgot that you set a preset before for ElRS.
Yep. Good point.
Because that will definitely change floaty and loose. Because when you pick the preset, you pick a setting typically.
You're
like
talking about the
cinematic
RC
or
Link
HD.
preset.
Yeah, the RC Link preset. Yeah.
That's a good point. When you set the RC Link preset, you choose the style, like HD, freestyle, cinematic, and that could definitely have that effect for sure. Go ahead, Blinty. Sorry.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, you just go in the presets tab, you type in the packet rate you're using with ElRS, and then you get to pick one of 5 styles that you're going to use and apply that preset. That's where I would start.
Yeah. Yeah. That's valid. Reapply the RC Link preset and make sure you select freestyle. Yeah. It basically adds delay. It adds smoothing and delay. Valid. Is it possible to fall down freely on Cinelog 3.0 like stone without compensation? Thank you for €5, PK Spileo. It's not possible to fall down freely with any drone because the motors at idle still make some thrust. So when you fall down, the motors are still pushing you slightly forward. You see this most often when doing building dives because you'll dive down and you'll still be pushed away from the face of the building. And the way to counteract that is to nose forward so the motors are literally pushing you straight down instead of pushing you away from the building. The same thing happens when you are like diving a tunnel. You have to like typically spiral around to keep yourself from being pushed into the wall of the tunnel. Thank you for 20 Australian dollars from Michoni Bamboni. I want to test the Foxier Cat 4 on the new newbie drone Lionbee. Being a touch more power hungry than the BI, will it be a problem? I don't think it'll be a problem in terms of like the 5-volt regulator. Especially when the 18650... No. The motors are going to pull way more power than the camera. The camera is not going to have any effect on the battery. What about the step-up voltage regulator? I mean, I have to assume that newbie drone took care of this. I don't know for sure because I haven't yet. I just built this today. I haven't flown it yet. But I have to assume that this will let you run the battery down to like 2.8 or 2.6 volts, and the 5-volt regulator running the camera will still be fine. I don't know for sure. Like I said, I haven't flown this. We'll see. Baked Potato Brett, thank you for a $10 super chat. Is there an analog VTX that's decent with DVR built in? No. Nope. I'm not aware of really any analog VTXs with DVR built in. I'm aware of standalone DVR boards that you would put on your drone, but the DVR is not decent. The only decent DVR in FPV today is the HDZero system. HDZero goggles and the HDZero screen have a very, very good DVR. Really, Orca's is pretty good too. Orca's is actually pretty good as well. That's true. I don't see as many Orca goggles as I used to, though.
Me and chat mentioned the split cam. There's an old... I remember a couple of the split cams would do DVR. That's kind of their purpose.
Well, they would record like 4K onboard footage. Does anybody still make them, though? That's true. RunCam Split, for example. Is it still made? Can you still buy it? Like, maybe you can. Well, okay. Okay, fair. So this is the RunCam Split. It is an analog camera with 4K onboard recording. I guess technically that's a DVR. It's really not a DVR because it's recording a way better image than you see. But that's actually what you're looking for, isn't it? There's also the Caddx Loris. I knew I was going to, if I started typing. The Caddx Loris is the same thing. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's available. Can you still buy it anywhere? Not discontinued. So it looks like the RunCam Split is still available. Siati says, I thought the SkyZone DVR was also good. SkyZone DVR is not motion JPEG. It is good quality encoding, but the problem is it still drops frames when video gets weak and goes out of sync, which I find absolutely frustrating as a video editor. Yeah, so I don't like it. Also, HDZero records audio, local audio from the pilot's station. Why were DJI drones banned, but not their microphones, gimbals, and other things? Ha ha ha, good sir. DJI as a company has been added to the prohibited entities list. All DJI products that require FCC certification are banned. Microphones, gimbal, anything that requires, and basically that's everything, because they all have Wi-Fi on board. All the existing stuff still allowed to be used and imported. But anything new from now on that does not have FCC certification will not get it and cannot be imported. Caddx Baby Turtle will record HD, I'm being told. The Caddx Baby Turtle. There you go, 45 bucks. Okay, so going back to the question about DVR with onboard recording. Caddx Baby Turtle is an analog camera with onboard 4K recording, I'm going to guess. Probably. 1080p. Oh, well, that's fine. 4K is overrated anyway. Yeah, so this is going back to that question, what you might be looking for. I'm kind of surprised people still make these. I would have thought that they went out of style and weren't made anymore. There you go. Shows what I know. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Blunty. Bomber says the RunCam Split is way better than the Caddx Turtle. I have both. Okay, file it away. Thank you for $10 from Cowzilla, who says, I have a Flywoo F722 Pro mini flight controller on an Explorer frame. I get visible shaking at and below 50 hertz with a safe tune. I'm at the point of replacing parts. Where would you start? Shaking below 50 hertz? That's surprisingly low. I don't think that's coming from your motors. I would look at the antenna mount. Like a big wobbly antenna sticking way out in the air can sometimes create mid 30 to 60 hertz oscillation. That's a tricky one. 50 hertz is really low to be coming from the motors. It's like...
Okay, I have so visible shaking, is it only on one axis? Are you seeing it on the black box on all three axes? Because you said below 50 hertz, I assume you know the frequency
I assume
somehow.
you're black boxing it, yeah.
Yeah, so then my thought would be if it's only on one axis, rotate the FC. I would always do that.
Could be a bad gyro, yeah.
And make sure there's nothing to do with the gyro, right? If it moves axis, then you know it's a gyro. If it stays on the,
Yeah, so what, just to elaborate, what you're saying is if it is a physical phenomena on the pitch axis and you rotate the FC will now see it on the roll axis because you rotated it 90 degrees, right? But if it is a problem with the flight controller and the gyro, if you rotate it, the vibration will rotate because the gyro physically rotated. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, he said both roll and pitch.
Oh, well. And you can see it in the camera. I assume it says visible vibration. He means you can see it in the camera or only in black box? I mean, Tom Paulson, I found RunCam Split on Amazon for $119 in stock, ready to ship. So when you say you can't find it nowadays, that doesn't seem to be accurate. The very first link I found, they had it. Make sure the flight controller
Yeah.
is soft mounted. Make sure all your screws are tight. Make sure there's no damage to the frame. These are the basic things to go to when you have vibration. Like 30 to 60-ish frequency could be the antenna, the VTX antenna. It's a big weight at the end of an arm, and so it can pick up wobbly vibrations and create vibrations in those frequencies. All right. What would be the best long-range analog receiver for the SkyZone Sky04O Pro? Got the Ready to Sky triple feed patch and some Omnis. Would Rapid Fire or SpeeDB goggles receiver be any better with the same antenna? I mean, Fusion is my go-to analog receiver these days. It has as good a performance as any analog receiver and is a decent price. I don't know if the SpeeDB is as good as the Fusion. The Fusion I know is good. So I would go with TBS Fusion. I don't know for sure that it will fit inside the SkyZone goggles. I think it will, but I don't know for sure.
I think he's asking, is it worth going to that over the SteadyView V3.3 that's in the goggles now?
Not really. You'd make a much bigger difference with your antenna. I would get a better antenna before I'd buy a new module.
And then he's asking, should he do 2 patches?
For long range, the only reason to do diversity for long range is if you want, you're going to have a really narrow beam antenna and you want 2 of them to kind of like have a wider beam. But most of the time with long range, you're going to fly out and back and you're going to kind of stay on your antenna beam. So if you need to fly long range out and then like sideways, you may want to get 2 patch antennas with overlapping interleaving beams and get a wider coverage area. Oh my gosh. All right, we're going to wrap up. If you're going to be Everton Morera, if you're going to be putting gear on a car and then switching to a drone, I do think Walksnail is the way to go. Walksnail has a great variety of video transmitters and is adaptable to a variety of situations, including surface vehicles and airplanes. Hey, UAV Futures. Good to see you, man. Super Deluxe, Ciati FPV. All right, we're going to wrap up. I'll see you guys next Sunday, as usual. Happy 2026. Oh, this is the second stream of 2026. I didn't say Happy New Year in the last one. And Ciati. Ciati, where's the link, buddy? I know he'll post the link. I know he's going to post it. Ciati's going to start streaming. He probably already is. He's probably waiting for me to finish. There it is. He's doing giveaways. Ciati, there's the link to his stream. Everybody go check him out next. Send him some love. Good night, everybody.